All right, all, welcome to my page. I am Patrice. I am a singer, songwriter, vocal coach who's been in this industry for God knows how long, and I am here to help you with the do's and don'ts of singing. And so one thing I want to talk about today that's really, really important for all singers to be able to identify is what is your actual vocal range. So stick around as I break down an exercise on how you can determine where your voice lies. Okay, so before I dive into the exercise, I want to clear up a few things just so it makes more sense when it comes down to really going, how am I going to be able to utilize ultimately what I have here and I've created is a chart. And if you do want access to this chart and tracks that can help you identify this here, you can be sure to check out the link below. There is a free module to my singing program that you can go check out, and within that there is this right here. So, but that being said, as we move forward, there's a couple of things that we have to understand before we come down to this here and go, okay, great, this is my starting note, this is my end note, this is my, the different types of tones and what we're covering within there. But there is different singing styles, and this is important to understand. So as you're looking at these things, you can kind of go, okay, great, this is what I would present if I was in the Broadway world, or this is what I'd kind of be looking for if I was in the classical world. So the three different styles of singing are classical, and so you think about your opera there, you have musical theater, and now no again, nowhere to turn, no one to go to, and then you have contemporary, and I think on the radio there you have You Shout It Out, one of my favorite, I was and so those are the three different styles of singing, and so we need to understand that and what we want to partake in and the kinds of music that we enjoy and like. And within that, in the musical theater and in the classical world, it becomes more important for us to kind of identify as what there's certain terms like soprano. And that is within the female range, and that's the highest voice within the female range, where that person in particular, their voice, where things sound best, would be within a certain bracket of notes. And then there is also in the female range, you have mezzo soprano, and they're kind of like middle, and then you have alto, and their strong point would be their lower notes. And then in the male world, you have tenors, and they tend to be the higher singers. And then you have baritones, and they again are in the middle zone there. And then bass, and their voice sounds best and is more naturally prone towards the lower notes. And so why that's important to understand is because as you venture, if you say, hey, I have a desire to be a part of musicals, and you audition for different things, they may say to you, what is your vocal range? And if you don't understand that, it might not seem as professional, because a lot of professionals know this, or they know their range and what sounds best. And also it might become hard for them to, a quick test they can see, but it's a little easier if you know that, so that they can know, okay, great, we're putting together an ensemble, and we need X amount of sopranos, we need X amount of mezzo sopranos, and we need X amount of altos, and again into the bass tenor, baritone, and so forth. And so that way they can have the number of vocalists that they need in order to create that ensemble, which ultimately creates the different harmonies. When you hear a song, you have a main melody, and then you have the harmonies on top of that. They just kind of like, think about, I don't know if it's like fattening it up, but just richer, bigger and grander. And so that's where it's really important. Whereas in contemporary, it's important for us to understand our range, but we're not necessarily going into, you're not going to walk into a recording studio and they'll say, what is your vocal range? They may want to know that, so that if you were creating an original song, they can kind of go, okay, great, this would be our low note and our higher note there. So that's the value of that. But they're not going to necessarily say, hey, are you a soprano? Are you a mezzo? Are you an alto? Are you a bass? Are you a tenor? It's just important to understand your range. So when we're doing covers, first of all, a quick Google can show us, you know, say I have a whole list here, and it's like, okay, say I want to do, for example, Glitter by Pink. Right here, vocal range is an F3, and it goes up to, oh, I lost that, F3 to a B flat 4. And so you can kind of, when we get into this, you'll be able to look here and go, oh, okay, that fits my voice. That's within my limits, my capabilities, and what also sounds really good. And therefore, you're going to be doing yourself a service. So that being said, that's where it's kind of important for us, every style of singing, to be able to identify what is your lowest note that you can sing and what's the highest note you can sing. So this way, as you venture out there, if it's in the musical theater, classical world, you are armed with that there. If you're going for auditions or you're presenting yourself to someone in the industry, and even for your own self when you're looking for songs online, potentially to cover, or say even writing your own songs, that way you know what best fits your voice. And in the contemporary world, same kind of thing, is we want to be able to know, okay, what's the lowest note and the highest note, so when we're looking at songs, we're doing ourselves service. Okay, so the next thing that I need for you all to understand is one of the biggest reasons people give up on a subject is not necessarily that it is not for them, that there wasn't passion there, that they're not even driven. It's the fact that they don't know how to always learn. And the best way of learning is on a gradient. And that's kind of like a step by step by step by step way. Because if you go too steep a gradient, it's beyond your capabilities at that moment. I'm a big advocate of, if you stay the course, you're going to continue to grow, you're going to continue to grow. We'll see in this case your range and all those wonderful things there. But if you're jumping too steep a gradient, in this area of things, it becomes frustrating, we become upset, we tend to want to just back away from it. So therefore, we don't ultimately end up by being able to see our fullest capabilities, because we just end up by saying, no, it's not for us, so that's not really for me, and I'm not really great, and I can't do that, and all this other noise that comes in that stops us. So that is really important as we look at things today here with range, because if I am trying to continually go into another range of things, say I have a voice more in the liking of Halsey, who tends to be more in the lower mid-range, I'd call her like more of an alto. And, you know, alto, maybe she can do some like mezzo soprano stuff, right? But it's a lot different than, say, someone like Ariana Grande, who has a really high voice. She's pretty dynamic as a whole, but, you know, when you hear a lot of her stuff, it's in high range. So say you're, you know, more in this range and you're constantly trying to go into this range of Ariana Grande, it might seem like you really can't sing, or you're going to be going into, you might end up by being throaty a lot, you might crack a lot, you might just be making the most unpleasant sounds, not because you actually can't sing, but because you're continually trying to push things into a range that doesn't fit you. And so that is why it's important to really identify this and to do things on a gradient that works for you, where your voice is at the moment, and finding the right songs. And yes, we want to continue to push ourselves, but I would say we want to push ourselves on like half, at most, full step gradients. We want to keep it there, because if we're constantly trying to go like, woo, you know, way beyond that, it becomes really frustrating, and we're also not doing ourselves a service. Also, if you're getting out there and you're performing a lot, or you want to be performing, this is important because you're not showcasing your fullest potential and where your voice fits best and sounds most beautiful. So that, again, it's just not doing you the best service for yourself. So that is why this is important for us to understand in every area of singing. So let me break down the exercise. It's kind of super simple. If you have a keyboard, you can use that. There's also really cool apps. Like I have one, I'm not even affiliated with them, but I like this app, and it is called, I'm just gonna bring it up here super quick. It is called Pocket Pitch. Pocket Pitch is like this, and there is a piano on it where you can, actually what's really cool about this one too is I can see B3, B4, and to clear that up too, because that can be like, what is she even talking about? In the free piano that I have, if you sign up below, you can see here it starts C1 and then it starts to go D1, E1. In the simplest terms, when you think about the piano and reason there is it basically goes A through G. A through G, A through G, A through G, A through G, A through G. It just keeps repeating. So just hopefully that makes sense. It's like, oh, okay, because someone could say, play me a C, and you're like, okay, yeah, play me a C. What C? So you'll even be armed with this here, which is awesome. And so, you know, you go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so forth. And I'm gonna turn this on here, make sure it's on. But you're going A through G, A through G, A through G. And the first A is going to be A1, and then the second A after that will be A2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. And so that's where you'll be able to see things there, but on that app, it gives it to you. So let's move forward. What you want to do is you want to, if you don't have this one here, you can find your own, but you want the piano here. And you may start, for my females, I'll start here. You'd want to start in, I would say, to see how low you can go, start at the middle C, and which is going to be C4. And you're just going to work your way note by note. You may just use a word that is comfortable in the low range. Let's just start with May. May, 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 May. See how that goes there? And so what I would say with that is, then I go here, and I go, okay, that's kind of what I call the gray zone. And sometimes too, keep in mind, if you do this in the morning opposed to afternoon or night, it may actually be a few notes difference, because in the morning, kind of waking things up, you might be like, oh, I can go a little bit lower. Or if you're really mucusy in the morning, that can lead to being like, oh, I can go like a few notes lower. And then you're kind of like, but wait a second, when I go to do stuff during the day, those don't feel comfortable. And it's because the thicker your vocal cords, the lower you can go. And so when we have that mucus coating, it's like a false sense of range. So I wouldn't go there. I'd probably do this more so in mid-afternoon if you can, when the voice is more warmed up and you've spoken some and so forth. But that being said, I go down here and I go, okay. That doesn't really feel comfortable. That's not going to be part of where my voice feels best right now. So I go back up. Like, okay, I could rock that. Okay, so what I would do is right now where that is sitting is I am at the F3. So I would take a marker or a pen or something and just kind of write, you know, F3, lower note, and I term that the speaking voice. Very commonly out there in the music world, they also call chest voice when we're identifying and looking at the lower range. So that would be F3, and I would mark that, and I'd also mark the date. So as you do more stuff, as you advance as a vocalist, you can also see how things progress. So then we know, okay, great, that is my lower note. Now as we go into the higher range, I break things down into two categories. I have what's called head voice, which is our light, it's a light, bright, almost fluty sound in the higher range. And then I have belt. That's a big, rich, full sound in the mid to high range. And there is a point where head voice and belt cross. So it's at times you could either do it head voice or belt. And so that's for another day, but sometimes people will say, well, I'll give it to you here. Sometimes people say, Patrice, do I do a head voice or do I do a belt? And I always say, what's the emotion of the song? Does it make sense to do it this or does it make sense to do that? If you can do both notes. I mean, if you can do both head, voice, and belt. But I'll say that for another video, and onward we go here. So that's what you're going to be looking at. Here is what is my head voice range, and then what is my belt range. And this will be helpful too in the contemporary world, because someone might say, oh, I can go really, really high, but then it's like, well, is that in the belt or is that in the head voice? Because certain artists, think about Adele, she is different than Ariana Grande in the sense of, never mind, right? She does a lot more of the belt opposed to doing more of the head voice, which you hear Ariana Grande having, she does a crazy belt as well, but she goes a lot higher. She even goes into the whistle tones there. And so, you know, there is different tones and different sounds. And so I think it's really important that we don't just go, oh, here's my, you know, my note, starting note for the higher range, and then here's the highest. It's kind of like there's subcategories, which will help us in picking songs that fit our voice best. You know, you can look at that song and go, oh, that's more head voice, and I can do that. Or, oh, you know, I have the high, I can go up really high, but this song uses more belt, and my belt kind of ends here. So that being said, when we're doing the head voice, we're going to start, and we're just going to use, I would use the word who on this, and we're doing half step increments. So we're going, no, I'd be like, that doesn't feel so great. Now, it's an interesting thing too. Just like I said earlier, I'd be like, you know, right around here, I call it the gray zones, where it's like, yeah, you know, if I really worked at it, or if maybe certain parts of the day it felt better, I could do that there. So then I would kind of go, okay, great. That's kind of where my max note is at, and I would mark that out. And then we're going to just do the same thing with the belt. And I give you two on here, at least with the chart, you see is where's the starting note. So you already have that laid out for you. So we're looking at F4 that we want to start with when it comes to the belt and the head voice. So with that, you can use the word ba. I like that there. Just I might say, you know what, I'd probably mark out there the E's tends to be a good part. The F and the F sharp, they get a little into like what I call that mixed zone of things. It's not like wholeheartedly the belt there. So marking those things out, and again, then I can look up the songs and kind of know there. And for my male artists there, it's going to be the same thing as you see up here. You're starting at the C3 when it comes to the speaking, going up there, and also going down, because some of that belt, I mean, oh my gosh, some of that bass notes here are going to start to go this way. So these are rough zones of things. I would definitely say where the starting point for the head voice and the belt is pretty where we want to start that end. But when it comes to the lower stuff, I've had lots of females get down into some of these D3s, and you know, with my males even into the F2. So don't feel like you're limited. Just go even outside the brackets there to where it fits you best. So again, if you want to see that chart and you need a track to help you with that there, be sure to subscribe to this channel for more videos, but also to check out the link below. That's what I meant to say. Check out the link below. You can sign up and get the first module of my program, Learn to Sing Like the Pros, for free. And I break this down there as well. So I hope this helps you in finding your natural voice and your range that best suits you, so you can really get yourself out there and start selling yourself as an artist. All right, onward we go.